It's a great pleasure to reminisce for a few minutes about the origins and history of the Center on Capitalism and Society. I won't be very long. The idea for the center was the inspiration of Roman Friedman, who's here, long a close friend of mine. Where are you, Roman? First when he was at Columbia, and briefly when I was at NYU, and forever after that, who phoned me from New York sometime in 1992, 93, when I was writing on capitalism for the EBRD in London, to say, with great fervor, that we ought to form a research center on the subject of capitalism. It was a significant step forward when Roman went to see the president of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, Bill McDonough, to seek his support for the development of such a center in New York. Roman, you will correct me when I make, after about all my mistakes. Roman told me that McDonough, in his excitement, jumped up, ramrod straight from his chair. He was so excited. We felt like we were on to something. By the end of the decade, we had a name, the Center on Capitalism and Society. It was the brainchild of Andrei Rapachinsky of the Columbia Law School, who, with Roman, had been working on the transition of communism to capitalism. That was insightful, for there is much discussion now of the place of capitalism in society. In the spring semester of 2001, I proposed the formation of such a center to Columbia's provost, Jonathan Cole, who was very positive. President George Rupp gave the okay. Later he commented to me that he was a Luther scholar, which may have added to his interest in having a center on capitalism. Both Jonathan and George are expected to be here today, by the way. The first 6 founding members, besides Roman, Andre, and me, were Glenn Hubbard, Richard Nelson, and Amar Bideh. In the next year, 0102, 4 other founders came: Joe Stiglitz, just arrived at Columbia, Bruce Greenwald, Merritt Fox, and Penty Curry. The first event in the center's history has been said to be the Festschrift for me in September 2001. It was tough, coming only 3 weeks after the September 11 attack on the Trade Center, but it was still exciting, beginning with Paul Samuelson's thrilling introduction. The center was off to a good start, but its sustainability was in doubt. We had no idea how difficult fundraising would be. In subsequent years, Richard Robb, who had just started giving some courses at SEPA, became a key member of the center, and he, with Penty, created the advisory board. Penty Curry created the advisory board in 2005. The importance of Richard's participation in the center's development is simply enormous. Amar built the center's electronic journal, Capitalism and Society, which published its first issue in 2006. I put quite some effort into the center's homepage, its introduction to the center, and its discussion papers. There were also the center's seminars. Philippe Aghion gave 3 of them. But it was the conferences that were my love. The inaugural conference, formal inaugural conference, Capitalist Systems, was held at Columbia in 2004. Paul Volcker chaired and spoke at dinner, as I recall, and many experts such as Will Baumol gave presentations. We all liked to travel. Our second conference was in Iceland in 2005, our fifth in Mexico City, and our third, unforgettable, was held in Venice in July 2006, ending on the rooftop of the Guggenheim Museum. Jeff Sachs, newly named head of the Earth Institute, was a godsend in our history. He joined us in January 2002 and invited the center to join Columbia's Earth Institute in September of that year. He provided substantial funds, which kept the center afloat for some years. Also important, he provided a space on Broadway and a manager with whom I could work while placing my secretary in my office still at IAB. Enter Peter Jungen, an investor and founder of startups here in Europe, and also a patron of the New York Philharmonic. He was horrified that the center did not have adequate office space and began pressing President Lee Bollinger to create some. The wait was terrible. Finally, in late 2009, the center was awarded glorious space in the International Affairs Building with southern exposure and the Empire State Building in the distance. But it took a lot of construction before we will be able to move in 2010. The center had a glorious decade. From the extraordinary Berlin Conference in December 2009 and the Oxford Conference on the Future of Europe in April 2016, and the special conference in April 2019, Women in an Inclusive Economy, and the 17th annual conference in October 2019, Progressivism, Socialism, and Nationalism. I'm so grateful to all the people whose participation has made the center a success. I'm especially grateful to the extraordinary staff that made all this happen, especially Miranda Featherstone, Lydia Conklin, Francesca Mari. By the way, these are all famous writers now. Jeff Nagy, Karen Lee, Lizzie Feidelson, whom you know, and Catherine Pikula, whom you know. It's been a glorious ride, and I hope we can continue to do what we are doing. Thank you very much.